I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If I could make the assumption that everyone that is in this room knows me, but then I could be wrong. My name is Sharon Smith. I am the Commissioner representing District 4 on the Board of Commissioners, and I am committed to filling Josh Reed's seat for this year. Along with those lines, I serve on the County Affairs Committee, and Commissioner Carl, who is quite ill, volunteered that, okay, Sharon, feel free, you get the chance to be the chair. So I'm here. Everyone that's here is asked to sign in. When and if you wish to speak, please raise your hand and be recognized. Give us your name and the township that you live in prior to speaking. Timing of your questions or presentations will begin after you have given that information. Seated here in the red shirt is my daughter who serves on the City Council of Beaverton. Her name is Carrie Jefferson. Sitting next to her is Laura Brandon Mayville, who will be typing your questions in so that they can be up on the board and everybody has an opportunity to see what they are. Carrie will be keeping time, and she has a timer that begins at 3 o'clock, or 3 minutes, excuse me, and goes down. So the first card you will see is 3. If you've spoken for a minute, you'll see the 2 come up. If you've spoken for 2 minutes, you'll see the 1 come up. If you've spoken for 2.5 minutes, you will see a ½ minute come up. And if you've spoken for 3 minutes, the stop card comes up and you are asked to sit down. You may speak the second time for 2 minutes only. Do you have any questions about that kind of procedure? Thank you. We are here, members of Gladwin County, to deal with a possible, what the Board of Commissioners is asking all of the citizens in this county on May 6th to vote to restore our millage to the voted millage that was offered in 1972 by the citizens of Gladwin County. That's the Headley rollback. Instead of 5.75 mils that was voted in 1972, we are currently assessing 4.4052. What does that mean? We're out of money. So, if the rollback is successful, and we thoroughly appreciate everyone here who says yes, we appreciate that. If the rollback is not successful, what we need from you are the things in this county that you are willing to do without. Because that, I'm not making threats. I've only been back on the commission board since January. I was gone for a full year. But I will tell you, it is very difficult. And for example, and I heard a comment poo-pooing the fact that the elevator broke, and we had to come up with $20,000 to fix the motor in the elevator. And, oh, isn't that just too bad? I feel sorry for the person who made that comment. because they obviously have never lived with a disability. I had a brother who had no legs. He could not have made it up here on this floor. The $20,000 plus that it took to fix the elevator came out of something else. And we all know, I see this community, and I use this term today, it's kind of like we're all married together. Now, some of us in this marriage work really well, and it lasts for a long time. Some of us have an ugly stepsister that we don't like. So we don't particularly care if that ugly stepsister has anything to do with what we're doing. But you know, you don't get to choose your family. Everyone in Gladwin County that lives here, that works here, that has grown up here, is part of the marriage of the community called Gladwin County. And we can choose to work together, or we can choose to say, we don't need that. So I've spoken enough. You don't need me. I'm here to kind of generate. I have a microphone that we can offer so that everyone can hear questions or comments. And so this is now your public forum. What do you want to know? What do you want to say?
Don't everybody talk at once.
Heck, I'll break the ice. Justin, Eastman Hay Township. I would like to, first of all, say that I'm certainly in support of your Hadley Rollback. As a citizen, and fortunate enough to have retired from the sheriff's office, I'd like to urge the board to voluntarily restore some of the concessions made by the various unions for the public safety, as the public safety millage didn't pass, as we all know. Particularly the retirement. I've been fortunate enough to retire from the sheriff's office with most of my sanity, I think. I think that a voluntary restoration of those benefits, if in fact the millage passes, would be a grand thing for the board to do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Is that restore retirement benefits?
And I include all of the county employees, but most particularly public safety. I think that, as you mentioned on your flyer,
Okay.
affects everyone.
I'm Thomas Ladner. I live in Beaverton.
Beaverton City?
Yes, Beaverton City. I can understand some of the rationale and everything, and I have this sheet here, and I put a star. I do understand that we have some age and deteriorating stuff going on, but I live with my mother. She's 80 years old, and I have seen a lot of the current situation where people just drive right on by my mom's house. I live on Saginaw Street, and that is a high traffic area for city employees. They constantly use it. They drive right on by our drain, and they don't even keep it unplugged,
Okay.
and so forth. But maybe I need to bring it up to another location, which I'm unfamiliar with. I've seen my dad speak 40 years ago, and basically he tried to put a thing under the sidewalk, and it's plugged up.
Okay, Tom, I don't mean, I'm going to cut you off, because that is definitely an issue that belongs to Beaverton City.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Other questions? Yes.
Hi, I'm Jan Colton from Billings Township. Thank you for being here. I'm I'm a graduate, 1981 graduate of Beaverton High School. Fine teacher. Fine person, in front of me. And I moved away. And I have lived a few places. And I've worked in government. I've worked city, state, federal. I've worked in private business. The one thing I've always appreciated about this county is that it knew how to make ends meet however it could. But I'm also a pragmatist from the real world. This is 520 square miles. We had an incident, I live on Brush Haver Road, right at Wixom Lake. We had an incident just a month ago where someone was trying to drive their car back up off of the ice and got their car sideways in a ditch. There was no sheriff's officer available for 45 minutes because there was one officer to cover the whole county that night. We can't function effectively if we cut everything to the point that there's no more fat. I've been talking to the animal control people, passion of mine, animal rescue. Do you know how many animals in this county have been found to have rabies? And yet we don't even have the ability to go out and enforce the existing law about licensing your animals and providing proof of rabies vaccination. You know, these are essential functions. We're not even asking that somebody create a new law. We just need the ability to enforce what we have and have enough staff to do it effectively. And I personally will do anything I can to help. It needs to be done.
Thank you. Other comments?
Mike Hargrave, I live in Sherman Township. I manage Gladwin Airport. Few people have asked me about what money would be generated if this vote passes. I've seen a figure in the paper. I've heard a couple different figures. I'd like to know. I don't see one on here.
Did you turn it over?
I did, but maybe I'll look at it. I don't have my goggles with me, so I could have missed it. I guess what I'm looking for, or what I've been asking, is what approximate total figure.
What's the total?
Is it there?
No.
Okay.
It's a little over $1 million, correct?
$1,225,000.
$1,225,000.
That was my first question.
Okay.
The second part would be, with that revenue, if this does pass, like Mr. Eastman said, would much of the services be restored with that fund, and any additional services planned in the planning to be added, such as another animal control, another deputy, more marine people, another clerk in the clerk's office, another treasurer in the treasurer's office, those kind of things that I know have been struggling with part-time and full-time and back and forth. Is there a plan to restore some of these that have been lost through attrition and laid off through the lack of funds? And if that's so, will we be going back to the level that it was 5 years ago, as an example? And would there be any intentions of escalating the services that the county provides?
Mr. Walters, Chair of our County Commissioners, would you like to respond to that?
We're going to bring everything back up to par of what it was. We're looking at 2 additional deputies if everything works out well. Another animal control officer, and I think we did that in the paper a while back. Restoring all those people and trying to get back on board to where we were a year ago. It's going to be hard, but we're going to try to do that. The MSU is a very good program, 4-H program. We want them back, and law enforcement was one of those big ones. So that's very important to us.
Law enforcement has been cut and reduced. Currently, there are 14, correct me,
He's out in the hallway on the phone right now.
Okay, there are 14 people working in the sheriff's department. That's the sheriff, undersheriff, deputies. And Ray, correct me if I misspoke, and I'm gonna try very hard not to, okay, these meetings. Currently, deputy-wise, out of the 83 counties in the state, Lyman County ranks 11 from the bottom. And that 11 from the bottom, 9 of those counties are in the UP. And we're real close to the cities that have a lot of difficulty with crime. And that's, okay. Other questions?
Well, obviously, I'm a contractor for the county.
Okay,
so
name, please.
Bob Fry. And
Location?
Beaverton City.
Thank you.
Sorry. One of the things that in my duties around the courthouse, I'm one of the people that spends time in each of the offices. And I guess I can see that, you know, some of these offices are really short on staff. When you see stuff that used to be done that now is getting pushed off, like for, you know, the land sale stuff, they have fewer people in the treasurer's office, and so getting the material for the land sale that used to always be done, what, by April. I was still waiting for some of that stuff in May because they didn't have the people to spend the time, because when people come in the door to the counter, they have to have enough people to be able to wait on them while somebody else is answering somebody else's question on the phone, and if people don't get what they want, they're upset. And that causes even more problems. Same thing happened in the clerk's office. I don't see people wasting time in the clerk's office. I don't even see people having enough time always to get the work done, especially the court people. You know, they sometimes have to work pretty late, I see them after hours trying to catch up on some of their stuff. You go around the county, it's the same thing. You go into the sheriff's office and you see the deputies. Mike is coming up with a plan now to try to allow them to do their reports while they're wherever they are out on the road, because they haven't been able to get back to the office to do the reports in a timely manner. And Mike requires those reports be done because you require them to be done so that you can get your reports to your insurance company, whatever. Jail. It takes a lot of people to run that jail. I don't know that there is any wasted time over there, and I spend a lot of time there too. Every place I go, I see a lot of people working awful hard, and very often right now they're understaffed. And so all these people that complain that we've got too many people in the, working for the county, I'm here to tell you, we don't. Yes, there are times that they can talk for a few minutes with somebody, but that doesn't happen very often, and now it's happening even less. So I just want to make sure that people understand, if you're actually here in the offices and you're actually seeing these people work, you know that it's not money being wasted. Now, think back to how big this county is now, the number of residents we have. Think back to how big Midland County was and how many people it took to run Midland County when it had 27,000 people. It took twice as many people, almost 3 times as many people as we have working for our county.
Scott, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
First off, Kelly Miller, Gladwin Township. Do want to say, you know, Mike's done a good job over there trying to create every bit of money he can out of the jail. You know, he's been trying real hard. Looking at the flyer here, you know, I'm seeing the MSU, the Marine Patrol, Animal Shelter, and more Sheriff's Department. Seems like every time there's a cut, we hear Sheriff's Department on the chop block. I know of few positions through appointed boards that could be eliminated, save some money. Lawsuits could be dropped that's in the county name, that's costing our county money.
But that's not here.
It is here. It's costing us money. You want more money from us as a community, but yet the community is being attacked. I mean, either way you look at it. You know, and you've
Okay, Kelly.
so far failed to bring up the boiler.
Hold the card a second. One of the things that I will say, okay, and I thoroughly appreciate this, and I understand your issue, okay? But because it is currently in litigation, and I know, you know, and you came and you expressed yourself well, but let's stay focused either with the things that are on the card, on the flyer that we have. We're not going to go into the litigation. We're not going to.
Just bringing it up so that everybody is aware of what's going on, because it ain't just me.
Ever so brief.
Okay.
In fairness to the entire commission and everyone here, when something is in litigation, you can't just walk away from it. It's there, it's done. There is nothing, for whatever your feelings are on the issue, there is nothing that can be done to stop it and just walk away and say, oh, all done.
Okay.
True?
Okay, let's just go on.
Okay, so why ain't we seeing the appointed boards getting cut out? I mean, that's plenty of fat.
Okay, what
right
kind
there.
of, what appointed boards?
Zoning Board of Appeals, I mean, the Planning Commission, what goes on? How many different committees and appointed boards are there around here?
But they're
I know-
required by state
Okay,
law.
Jan, one person at a time. That's I'll put in, did you include, looking at appointed
I
boards? And that's up there, so you have saved that?
Appointed board members could be
Could be
cut.
cut. Okay, thank you. Okay, I do appreciate that. Thank you. Yes, sir?
Ken Thurlow, Sage Township. I don't know that I have all that many questions, but maybe a little. First off, I'd like to say you guys, most of the time, I kind of think you do a heck of a job here. But the problem is, this whole dadgum country is broke. It isn't just Gladwin County, it isn't just Gladwin City. It's the whole United States, and it's every city almost in this country. Somewhere along the line, we got to figure out a way where we can keep this money under control. We can't keep asking the people for more money. Every time you turn around, it's more money for the schools, more money for this, more money for that. You guys have got to figure out some kind of a way how we keep the spending under control. Now, I know you have essential services. You have to have a sheriff's department. You have to have. Can't see too much on here that you really don't need. But the thing of it is, somewhere along the line, this has got to come to an end. We can't keep spending money. We can't be everybody's buddy. We can't do everything for everybody. For Christ's sakes, years ago, everybody did it for themselves. You guys got to figure this out. I mean, my God, every time you turn around. I heard a little deal today talking about a preschool education starting when the kids are 3 years old. The community said, instead of spending this money when the kids are 3 years old, why not when the kids graduate from high school, spend that money on the kids 18 to 20 years old and pay for community college? These are things we got to start using our head a little bit on.
And I appreciate your comments and thoroughly understand where you are, but it kind of gets off of if we're just looking at the headlight, okay?
Not really. It's Headley's more money. It all comes to more money, and somewhere along the line, that's got to come to an end. Well, I'm broke. I can't come to you and say, hey, I need $2,500. I got to pay my taxes. You guys are going to say sayonara.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments? Yes.
I'm Mike Greer. I'm a magistrate and I live here in the city of Gladwin. Sort of following up a little bit on some of the discussion. I know that in some of the committees we've talked a little bit about some of the things that we're apt to have to spend money on down the road if we do don't do something now. And I know, you know, Ken appreciates the idea too, that if your roof starts getting bad, if you don't put a new roof on, eventually you're gonna have to repair the inside of the house. And some of the things that have been talked about that I've heard, and probably other people here can give more details, the boiler system in the sheriff's department, if it goes bad and we then can't keep people there and we have to start housing inmates everywhere else. The air conditioner that's 30 years old here for the courthouse that only works now because during the summertime Rick Gent will sit there with a hose fastened to it so it'll help keep it cool enough so that it doesn't burn out. You know, at the point in time that that goes bad and we're not able to be in the courthouse because at least I know down in the basement where I work, it'd be 100 degrees probably if the air conditioner wasn't there in the summertime. Some of the other types of issues that it's a matter of either spending some money now to take care of or it's going to cost us a whole lot more money down the road. Like I say, I think other people can probably give more specific instances of that, but those are things I'm concerned about.
Thank you. Other comments?
I would like to spend 2 minutes on another issue.
Thank you.
Bob Fry, Beaverton City. One question I have is, even though you're authorized, you know, if we pass this override and you're authorized, every year you still have to, as a commission, you have to vote how much to levy. You don't need to levy the whole 5.75. You can levy less. And I'm sure that you will if you don't need that much to balance the budget to do what you need to do. And so it's not saying that we're just giving the county $1.25 million more every year. We're not. Because they have to levy all of that, and they probably won't. When we come to the school board, right now we have to levy everything we can. Right now you have to levy everything you can. But when you've got, you know, that's the question I have is it likely that you'll be levying? I know you can't commit to something like that, but is it likely you'll be levying the full 5.75? And I doubt that you will, because you'll come up with your budget, you'll see how much you need, and you levy that much. And that's...
Thank you.
I'm kind of the bad guy, I'm the chairman. We've taken, well, all the committee, all the commissioners, we've cut everything we can cut. We've cut janitorial staff, we've cut maintenance. We have one janitor that takes care of both buildings. We have one maintenance person that can't take off a vacation day because there's nobody to fill his spot. We've cut back on the extension office. They have enough money till August to run, or September to get through. Those are very important programs. We also, taxes, everybody says, well, you got all this tax money come in. About 4.5 million comes in taxes. The other 4.5 comes in with revenue from going down to the clerk's office and getting your marriage license and these other things. That amounts to 9 million. Guess what our budget is? 9 million. We've shaved everything we can shave. And like I mentioned the other day at the breakfast at Edenville, my son came to me and said, "Dad, what are you doing?" I have 3 sons in law enforcement. You can't cut law enforcement. I know that. So I used to work across the street too. It's very important to have law enforcement and to have somebody respond when you need help. And a lot of times you get a ticket and say, "Oh God, we don't need them guys." You do need them. And like I say, we need them back. We need some additional police officers. We also talked about earlier about if the boiler goes down in the sheriff's department or the air conditioner goes down. We have 80 prisoners. Guess where they go? They go to another county. We have to transport them, and it costs up to $35 to $40 a day. My math is probably about $3 grand a day. It costs a lot of money. We don't have to do that. We've cut everything. We're down to macaroni and cheese. Ken, we're down to macaroni and cheese. And pretty soon we're going to be without the cheese. We've shaved everything we can shave. We're shaving our insurance company right now, trying to work with them to get better rates. We've tried with everything we can to cut back. I've lived here all my life. Gladwin's important to me, important to my family.
Both of us.
Right. We've been around a couple of years. But we're trying to do everything we can. The gentleman talked about committees. Most people, a lot of committees I sit on, I don't even charge. If I can, if it's close to town or here for another meeting, I don't charge. I think that's fair, you know. You try to work around what we can do and what we can't do. I had a bunch of things on my mind before I come up here, and I should have brought my notes, but, yes.
Do prisoners help pay for
Some
their
do.
being there?
If we have boarding that comes in, sheriff will get so much a day for that. If you're like a weekend person, we get so much from them. And sheriff probably could explain that more.
Mike, you want to address that question?
Well, there's prices on a variety of things. For instance, if you stay weekends with us, in any event, there's a set price for a 2-day weekend or a 3-day weekend, depending on how you come in. Come in on Friday night and get out on Monday. Some folks don't work the traditional 4-day work week or 5-day work week with 10-hour shifts and 8-hour shifts. So those weekends are kind of up to what your employment standards would be, but primarily it's a Saturday, Sunday obligation. There's a price for that. If the courts, you know, assign somebody to us, I like to leave it at that assignment note, and they're a resident of ours for a period of time, they pay us a daily rate, but we can't hold them responsible for that prior to them getting out, so then we're chasing our tail trying to get that money after they've been released.
Is it not true that there are programs like the canteen services that prisoners are charged for things, and then that money then helps pay for some of the things that are happening over there? Is that not correct?
What we do over there is for instance, the canteen program you're talking about is a commissary program where each week the inmates can select an item or a few items up to a certain dollar amount that they can get to have snacks and things that they can have in their cell safely, and then we get a stipend off the top of that. But then we utilize that to buy the mats they lay on, the pillows they lay on, the clothing they wear, the shoes they wear, etc., etc. So that way the taxpayer's not on the hook for those things.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
I'm Darlene Connor from Grove Township. I'm saying nobody likes to see our taxes raised. No one likes to pay more money for things. But on the other hand, if we would just maybe cut out some of our frivolous things, how much would that money be? I think that we need to help our county, and I don't know what it would take, but would we want the state to come in and control our county? I don't. And maybe I'm being a little bit harsh, I don't know. I don't work here with the commissioners, so I don't know anything about it really. But I do think that we've got to do something. That's all.
Thank you.
Like I say, we've cut everything we can cut. We even went back, a while back, we cut Fridays, other than the courts being here on Fridays. We're saving about $70,000 on that. We're trying everything.
Another major cut that was done at the request of citizens was 2 years ago. We went from 7 commissioners to 5. And I can guarantee you I was on the board with 7. And now being on the board with 5, you can ask my husband how many meetings I have to, how many things I have had to do, because there is a considerable higher workload for my responsibilities as your county, District 4 county commissioner. And that was a big cut. Mr. Thurlow.
I don't want to take up all your time. Terry, I know you guys are doing a fine job. I know you've got everything you could. Hate to see it fail. What about generating more money in other ways? Just for instance, and this is probably not a county thing, this is probably a city thing. a year ago, I got property, I have 6 acres in the city and 4 acres just east of town in the township. I wanted to put a little business in there. Well, by the time I got done screwing around with these guys, they want me to pave the whole dadgum thing where I was gonna put this in. By the time I got done, I said, that'll cost me $80,000 to generate, you know, maybe 10, 15, 20 grand a year, you know? Stupid little things like that. Now, there's something would have probably could have taxed me a little higher. I might even have had somebody out there running a little store. But it's these dumb little things that you guys come up with that you can't do. For what reason? Why would I have to pay that? To put a little pole barn up there and put a little business in there? Silly stuff like that. I mean, my God, think a little bit. There's a lot of things that you guys do, and you know what they are. I don't. Silly little things that you say, you can't do this, you own the property, you pay the taxes on it. In our case, we've owned it well over 100 years. But every time we turn around, we get a permit for that, a permit for this. My God, guys, let this stuff grow a little bit. Let some money come in, make some jobs in this county. I mean, Christ almighty, there's a lot of different ways of going about something. When you reach your spending limit, you got only 2 things you can do. You can either cut back or you can make more money. I don't know that you can cut back any, so you better figure out a way to make some more money.
Thank you.
Chair, may I clarify something?
Yes, please.
After I sat down, I thought maybe the statement was taken the wrong way. I think the commissioners have cut in every way they can. I mean, our personal things, some frivolous things that we could cut for this money, I don't think would mean that much.
Oh, thank you.
So I'm clarifying that.
I didn't mean to make you mad.
Oh, you
And I think what you're addressing is that the average cost of this Headley rollback restoration to a citizen in Gladwin County, the average cost is $43 a year.
And see, look what we spend $43 on and don't think of it sometimes.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
When we figured that out,
Okay, name.
oh, Coral Beth Rowley from Sherman Township.
Thank
We
you.
figured it out on my property. My assessed valuation is only $37,000,
Okay,
but I'm still paying $50.
okay,
So the 43 is a really low average.
okay. Well, that,
It would be $50 more.
okay.
But that was a really low average, just a little clarification there.
And this came from our equalization director, you know, and things go,
Yeah, I mean, we got,
but,
Can you explain it?
yes, that would be good though.
feel free. This is
My name is Bill Mason. I'm the equalization director for the county. The calculation for that, Coral Beth, came from, no? Can you hear me?
No.
He has a,
You're fine.
You have a terrible voice.
I like you too.
I know, I love you, Bill. You're a good guy.
It came from taking residential and agricultural properties and lumping them in
together.
high and low and come up with an average. Sure, you have some areas where houses are worth more, you know, around the water, but a lot of houses, or I shouldn't say houses, I should say properties, are worth less. So in the average, I suppose around the $30,000, $35,000, and this is on taxable value. This is not on the assessed value, on taxable value. You apply that millage to it, and it comes out to around $43. And with that, that's why we had in the paper, and also just recently, Gina Conrad did something where she could go, where a person can go online to the county website and calculate that.
That's where it went, yeah.
And to help people determine exactly what their increase would be. You know, you're not trying to hide what your taxes, and it's estimated because it's based on last year's, but not trying to hide anything. So that's why it's out there. You know, millage times your taxable, that's your basic increase.
He does have a really good voice. It just doesn't carry as well, but it's mine.
Now, one question I have in that regard is, Headley had two parts. One is it limited the collection of taxes, but it also limited the values of the homesteads, right? Is that true or not?
Not really. It limited the increases the municipality could put on revenues over the previous year, so therefore you get a millage reduction fraction, and that calculation is cumulative over the years. So since '78, when Headley came into effect, your millage reduction fraction kicked in. You know, some years it would be a 1, so it wouldn't be a rollback. But on other years where, you know, in the past, where your valuations were increasing dramatically, you would see a millage reduction fraction. Last 4 years or so, there hasn't been one because values have dropped. But as a result of it, at any rate, the millage rate now is 4.4052.
I guess my question is on this capped and uncapped.
That's part of Proposal A.
That's Proposal A. So this has nothing to do with Proposal A. So they're still going to be capped. So you're not going to get any increase in the.
Certainly.
By law. That's what I want to clarify and make sure that people understand the difference between the capped values and then the millage rates.
And those are two different things.
They are.
And Proposal A.
Right, but I mean that's still a lot of people roll that into one question though.
Okay.
And so that's what I'm saying is we need to make sure people aren't confusing them. They're not going to have their property uncapped by this.
Okay. Sir.
I'm Edwin Gatz, Gleben County, Sherman Township. I'd like to know when I have seen a raise in my valuation every year for years after year. And now you tell me it's went down? Try to explain that one. I got tax statements to prove it.
Okay. The millage reduction fraction is calculated on a unit-wide basis, not on an individual property. So, but to address your particular property, assessments have gone up in the past quite a bit. Recent years shows that in some areas they will come down by the unit, should reduce its assessed values. Now the assessor may take a certain pocket where that assessor could support through sales or whatever data those assessments should either stay the same, rise, or drop. So without looking at your individual property, I would have a hard time trying to determine why it would go one way or the other. But on the taxable side is, pursuant to Proposal A, is the cap value. So that will go up the Consumer Price Index, which is set by the state. And so that, if your assessment is way up here and your taxable is down here, your assessment could go up or down. Your taxable is going to go up the Consumer Price Index every year, except in 2010, I believe that was the first year in many years where it actually went backwards. But the last couple of years, yes, your CPI, the Consumer Price Index, took your taxable value up as it goes. Your assessments, where the millage reduction fraction is taken from, will take that, will affect the millage, which then is applied to your taxable. Did I confuse people, or is that?
And you know, he's actually speaking English. Okay? Sorry. That's not a foreign language. But I can absolutely guarantee you, when I listen to that, my eyes glaze over, and I'm thinking, what am I hearing? So if you have specific questions about your specific, you see him, because he has an office in the annex. And you can call and he can explain.
Equalization Department.
He's the equalization director.
Well, like I said.
And that's essential.
I'm 88 years old.
Thank you. That's
I
awesome.
lived in Gleben County, Sherman Township all my life, except what I spent in the South Pacific in World War II.
Okay.
But I'd like to see when my taxes go down, and with all the extra valuation we have got in Gladwin County, for instance, like Sugar Springs made millions, and now the money don't reach. Why not? Live within your means, not just keep asking for more.
Thank you.
Sir, did you say your last name was Gatz, G-A-T-Z?
Yes.
Okay, wanted to make sure I had it correct.
Thank you.
I'd like to address something that was brought up earlier. The gentleman here who said that there are two ways when you run out of money. And one is to either stop spending or to start raising money. We have already identified within one of the departments that's constantly being targeted that they can't bring in the revenue they're supposed to generate because they've been cut so much there isn't enough staff. I'm talking specifically about the animal control. The statistics were already shown that since 2008, the number of people who own animals and are not paying their annual license fee is going down. The reason being, there's nobody to go out there and say, hey, you're delinquent, come pay up. There's one person and one part-time person. The animals who are living in animal control, they're doing their best to feed them, house them, and everything, but there's a cost to that. The reason being, they can't take them to the PetSmarts and whatever, or the adoption events, because there's nobody to take them, and you can't send a volunteer with an animal that's already in custody. When you get to the point that you cut too much, one of the ways that you can start raising revenue is to put just enough back in there that there are enough people to do the job right. This is an instance where we can do the job right for literally $10,000. They can become, instead of a cost center, they can become a profit center. They can be bringing more money back in as revenue, going after scalpers and whatever, if they had the people to do it.
There's no problem with that, hon. If you can make more money with more people, hire 100 of them.
But we gotta pay them.
They'll pay away and have a little extra.
But you gotta pay them.
Okay, are there any other questions?
Stephanie Buffman, Gladwin County Record, and I've been covering this county for 11 years. Not telling. 11 years. And I will say this is probably the most short-staffed I have ever seen, these offices. And we're looking at programs to cut. But I'm wondering, we negotiated an appropriation to the health department where we did not make an appropriation, and then there was a surcharge charged on certain services. Are there other areas where we make appropriations that can be negotiated to lessen the impact on direct services to our people and the people who are staffed here?
I did not. Is there a way to what?
To negotiate some of the appropriations that are made that perhaps don't have as direct an impact on the people and the staff.
Thank you.
Appropriation.
Steph, your is in direct relation to the surcharge that we now charge for well
Right.
permits and for drain field permits and so forth, right?
Right, and that saved money because that reduced the appropriation that you gave the health department. Are there other options to do that?
And that's the board that Dennis and I sit on. And we were faced with a request from the Central Michigan Health Department for an increase in funds. And we couldn't comply, of course.
Right.
So then Isabella County and Gladwin County are the two that out of the 7 that are in that particular district. We ended up having to surcharge the permit fees in order to offset the reduction in revenue that they were getting. As far as the other boards that we're funding, we don't have that option. For example, the airport, we cut the funding by about half so far on the airport. We've done the same thing on the Economic Development Corporation. In other words, these other boards that we are obliged to put the money in, we don't have the option to pass off the cost.
So you can't negotiate if someone
Not-
comes
not
back
the
and says, you know, your appropriation is X amount. You can't go back. You don't have the authority to go back and say, man, we could afford to pay you X amount and that way preserve some of the services that we have here in our county. Is that an option?
No, we've got agreements with the airport, for example. We pay $30,000 to the city of Glavine and so forth. These are contract agreements. Same way we have Central with Michigan State Extension, we have an agreement, $60,000, and we can't pass that.
I'm just asking if there's any leeway to negotiate lower
appropriations.
appropriations.
I don't know of anything.
I think that would be a really good idea to put down for ideas, possible ideas, of looking at various things that we contribute to see if there is a way that there can be charges or something assessed on their part that would lessen our responsibility and still keep them at the same level. Is that what you're?
That's exactly what I'm asking.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Sure. A while back, about a year ago, the governor took away our revenue share. That was close to $1 million. We probably wouldn't be here tonight if we had that $1 million. We could make it through, and we'd still be winging it.
Which is tobacco tax, right? That's
Pardon?
that's tobacco revenues, right?
No, I'm just revenue sharing
right.
to get back.
Yeah.
What happened was he took close to $1 million. And if you take close to $1 million from each county, the 83 counties, that's why he has $3 million in his fund right now. And that's what he's going to use for roads. And I expressed that to Joel Johnson a while back. We need that revenue sharing back. $1 million. The governor's saying that we possibly are going to get it back, but we don't know when. And you know, some of these programs like we have for Marine Patrol, they're funded like 39% from the state. But the problem is we don't get that money until February of the next year. So you have to front that money up front.
Marine Patrol is federal funding.
State funding.
No, federal funding.
Last 2 years.
Federal.
Federal.
I thought there was some come from the state.
The state takes all the federal money in, but earmarks it as federal.
Yep, okay.
But we need that money back. Like I say, we probably wouldn't even be here tonight if that was the case. We expressed that to Joel Johnson, we need that back. We've heard that we're going to possibly get some revenue sharing, but we have no idea how much. So.
Okay.
In this case, I'm Mike Shea from Tobacco Township. And I want to say a couple of things. Our state representative, our state senator, John Mullen, and our governor, when they didn't revenue share with us, they kept a substantial percentage of that, and they give us this EVIT program, this Economic Incentive Vitality Program. I think, I can't remember, I might mess that up, but you know what I'm talking about. You don't know, basically, they said, County, we'd like you to jump through hoops. As you jump through these hoops, we will give you portions of your revenue sharing back. And what they've done is not given it back. The actual numbers is the governor's office down there now has $1.3 billion surplus. Along this time, what they did is they said, County Sheriff, and I happen to know this firsthand, most of you probably know, County Sheriff, we'd like to make your obligations bigger than they've ever been with different things in sex offender registry. So our sex offenders are in there quarterly. And they're taking a lot longer period of time, which is very labor intensive to us, without giving any of that money back to who? The county, to pay for that personnel. And along the way, I'll make this quick, I'm going to do my best, Carrie. They wanted to run a state police program, and it's not that I'm anti-state police, they serve a very valuable function. They're spending $16.3 million on a trooper school while they held that money away from Gladman County. And you know how many troopers we're going to see? 0. They're going to Detroit and Flint. And you're paying for that. I'm paying for that. Mike Shea and Tobacco. So when you see your legislators and you see those folks, make sure they're taking care of the home front, at least to some limited degree. I don't need all those folks, but I certainly could use some help because, as the Board of Commissioners knows, I've talked to them before, we don't have enough personnel at the Sheriff's Office to make the summer months. So there'll be gaps in coverage, and I won't tell you when either.
I wouldn't tell anybody.
So that's just something that we all need to keep in mind. We're coming up on the short end of the stick, and somehow the state has extra money now.
Mike Ricker, City of Gladwin. I also wear the hat of 911 director, and I work firsthand with Sheriff Shea. And I can contest to his comment right there, being understaffed. I have had complaints come across my desk here in the last month and a half of why was an officer sent, why is there delay in officer response, and it comes down to prioritizing, and we just don't have the staff to send to those situations. The theory was if we cut several deputies, maybe if we cross our fingers and wish real hard, maybe the crime will go down or we won't be needed. I'm here to say we're, what, 2.5, third month into the year, and we're sitting at about 2,800 complaints. So I just wanted to throw some facts out there that things aren't slowing down, but we're doing it on a reduced staff. Thank you.
Nancy Bogner, Gladwin City. Since you mentioned 911, made me think. So often, I have a story on it, and when someone calls 911, even if they find out it's a kid playing on a phone, they still send a policeman out there, which seems like a waste of time to me. I just wonder why. Is it that you absolutely have to, or what?
May I?
Yes.
It is our protocol to send an officer to those things because there are situations where an open line phone, doesn't matter if it's a kid or not, open line phone is a call for help. We send an officer out there and we have discovered domestic violence, crimes against women. We have found numerous things. We found individuals that are withholding the use of a telephone device to call for help for a female. So we get out there and we realize that it's not just a misdial or a child playing or something like that. So we have put into our protocols that we will send every time to make sure that there's not a crime against person or property that's happening, and we have uncovered those. So unfortunately, that's a protocol on why we do it.
Aaron Miller, Gladwin City. I'm also the county prosecuting attorney. Nancy, I can expand on that just a little bit. I issued two cases just this weekend where the guys had taken the phone from the woman as she was trying to call 911. Two just this weekend. I probably charge that particular offense a dozen times per year, but it's more than that. Yeah, okay, there you go. 80-some domestic violences per year. It happens a lot more frequently than you'd imagine.
Thank you.
Mike Greer again, City of Gladwin, the magistrate. Another issue, I wanted to blow Bob's horn a little bit. He's the IT person, you know. His hours have been cut in the past couple of years from being almost full-time, 20 hours a week. As we're getting more and more involved with all the various computer problems and everybody is trying to do things electronically, we don't have him enough to keep ahead of things, which is another thing that is not cost-effective. Again, as the problems develop, you can't always be dealing with the emergencies. Somebody's got to get upstream and figure out why things are being tossed in rather than just trying to rescue the people downstream. And I also agree with what Mr. Millard said in terms of Ms. Bodner. I'm the one that the arrest warrants and stuff come through. A lot of times what's happening there when there's a 911 hang-up is that something has taken place at that residence. Whether it's somebody beating up on somebody else or threatening somebody else, that is much more apt to be the case than there's the occasional people that are calling prank calls or kids or something like that. But it's a whole lot safer for the people of Gladwin if there's the deputies and the staff available can go out and check and make sure that somebody isn't dying or in a serious dangerous situation.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments or constructive criticisms? Justin?
I just wanted to finish off, I mentioned earlier restoring concessions for the union for the sheriff's office, and that is very important, particularly the retiree. I know there was a big decrease in retiree benefits, but I think in general, first of all, I'd like to thank you and whoever else is responsible for putting this together. I think this is, because if you talk to folks around out in the countryside, they're sitting at home, the county wants another bunch of money, you can't put the sheriff on horseback and send him all over the county by himself. You can't do those kind of things. nowadays, and you can't run a jail on a wing and a prayer and bread and water. You just can't do those things, as far as the public safety aspect of it goes. And for $50 a year, whatever it's gonna cost me, I'll cut back on my deer feed, whatever it is. I think it's so important that the county be able to govern, regardless of the economic situation. You're gonna pay us based on your ability, the way this is set up, and I wish you a lot of luck.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I had scheduled that this meeting would be over with by 8 o'clock, and since it's only 7:30, one of the things, what I would like you to take away from here is that you have a yellow piece of paper, and I believe, Mike, when those of us, and there's a lot of them are in this room that have been meeting multiple times going through this program and this flyer and what we wanted on that flyer. Correct me if I'm wrong, those of you who are here, we left the money off, the actual number, because it was in the paper, and we left it off the flyer specifically because we felt there were other things that needed to be there, and that information was going to be available, and we didn't want to screw it up. Okay, so that's why that number is not on there. In the beginning, when we started this, you know, I said that this is like, you know, a huge family that lives within Gladwin County. What one of us does affects someone else. The library would lose 30% of its budget if this does not happen, with further reductions in staffing. There are all kinds of consequences, all kinds of things. I hope Mr. Miller did not leave angry, and I will make sure that he understands that I probably cut him off quickly, but I did that because I wanted to stay focused for where we were, and I want you to understand that. Also, take with you the idea that whatever we do on May the 6th, when we get up May the 7th, we're still living in Gladwin County. And so we have to be able to live with ourselves and with the people that are here with us. The Board of Commissioners has altered our meeting in April, and our second meeting in April and our second meeting in May are going to be held at night, because we've had people complaining because they can't come to the day meetings. We had all these chairs set up. I wish they would have been full. But you know what? The important people are here because you are here. And you had a chance to listen to what people have said, what people have expressed. You can walk out of here going, now I will never. Or you can walk out of here going, you know what? Maybe for MSU and the kids that are involved in 4-H, I'll vote yes. Maybe because I want restoration of police protection, and when I call the police, when I call the sheriff's department, I want somebody to come to my house. I'll vote yes. Maybe because I live on the water and I want a Marine patrol on the water to be able to save people from drowning. And, you know, and in a perfect world, there would be no drunks on the water. In a perfect world, there'd be no drunks on the road. Yeah, but we don't live in a perfect world. The sheriff has to go and recover dead bodies that drown. I don't want his job. But we together can make sure that Gladwin County continues to thrive, continues to make the people that live within the confines of this county proud to say, this is where I live. Thank you for coming. Share your information, please. Appreciate it.